Good evening, everyone. How is everyone tonight? Cool, cool. I am feeling so much better, so much better than I was for the last month, 2 months, something like that. Thanks for joining. So one of the things I'm going to ask, and we can alternate or we can do it however we want, but if somebody could take minutes, I would be happy to give you the link to the Google Doc in the Drive folder, and I can stick that in the chat if somebody would be willing to just take that on. I'd appreciate it. Let me find my thing here that I opened. Minutes. It is August, right? Yeah, it's August. Okay. And anybody can edit. Done. Is everybody mostly recovered from whatever? Had anybody taken a nice little vacation, or what'd you end up doing, Stephanie, after camp?
I ended up going to Texas to see my daughter that I hadn't seen for almost a year, and all my grandkids. We had a big family reunion. So I wasn't given the opportunity to recoup. I just kept going, but it was really fun.
you have a delayed come back. Did anybody else do anything fun? Yeah, Alice.
I went to Alaska and actually went to Katmai and saw the bears grabbing salmon. And also we were so lucky we got to see Denali twice, which sometimes
nice. That's a real if you get to see Denali even once, that's great. That's cool.
That's cool.
Very cool. Anybody else do anything fun? Martha, didn't you just do no? You're getting ready to
no, nothing fun. No, we had we had visitors here, but no.
Nothing fun.
So so it is fun. I shouldn't say it that way. We had fun, but didn't go anyplace.
So, well, thank you everybody for all your work on what we've been able to get done so far this year. We've got a lot of stuff to do, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay, thanks, Ellie. But I want to welcome a couple of new people. We've got Isabel Ellie Peloso, who is an alumna from, she attended Stanford, and I think, who sent you up there, Ellie? Santa Barbara, maybe, or one of the San Luis Obispo, somebody, and she's going to school up at Berkeley, I think, and doing a program at Berkeley. And so she wants to help us out with the Tech Trek alumni group and to kind of drive that forward. And I think it will help to have a little bit of somebody who is in it to win it, that has some skin in the game and that would like to make sure that things continue to move forward. So we're going to welcome her to the committee as our adult member of the Tech Trek committee. And she'll work with the Tech Trek advisory, Tech Trek alumni community advisory board. So they'll be meeting a couple times a year. We've got some things we need to do with that, but they'll kind of take a little bit more initiative with telling us what we need to do with respect to bringing more alumni back to the game, getting them more motivated as they continue their journey and through high school and what happens. And so we're going to try and get that a little bit more I won't use the term commercialized because that's not correct, but a little bit more formalized, a little bit more emphasis on what are we doing with the kids? Once we've caught the fish, what are we doing with them? And are we helping them continue their way through and to ultimately meet the mission, which is to get more girls into STEM fields and into STEM studies? So it's not just, how well are they answering the survey, but how well are we actually tracking what's going on with them? And so I think that's a really important piece that we maybe have not been, well, when things hit the road, you have to do work on what the operational side of it. So you don't get to work on the strategy side of it. Now we have some opportunity and some time maybe to work on some of the strategy side. Good. I knew you attended Berkeley. Thank you, Ellie. Okay, so welcome, Angela, and you are, help me with this, you're from the Marin branch?
Marin branch, that's right.
I got it right. Yay, I got it right. It is, we welcome having more people from the northern end of the state because we are heavily loaded still, committee wise, and mainly because we just have a lot of people that like to get involved down here and get things done and do stuff. So I'd say that thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully it won't be too terrifying. I'm going to try and keep it short tonight. I'm going to try and keep it to an hour because I've got an infusion tomorrow, which shouldn't be a big deal, but I like to get enough sleep beforehand and all that other stuff to be ready for it. So, and Ellie says she can't talk, but as I introduced her, you'll hear more from her as we go through this. She's probably headed back up to school or in school, and she's going through a fellowship program, I believe, for one of her and I want to say aerospace something or another. So I think is what her field is, and that's what she's studying, engineering. Okay, so we've got a little bit to do. Let's see, I could have you do Alice do an icebreaker, but that's okay. I think most of us know each other at this point in time. Welcome, Pam. Welcome to our treasurer partners, because they truly are partners in what we're trying to do here. I'm going to share my screen, and I really hopefully, oh, that's a big one to see right away. This is the minutes, and let me go right to here. So if we look at and this is the first, your eyes are the first eyes to see this. So this has not been shared with anybody yet, but a lot of the information in here will in fact end up being shared with a multitude of people. So this is the time when we make comments on the numbers and say, no, actually it was this because of this, or because this is what we want to try and make sure that we all agree on as we share this information with the rest of our communities, whether they be, at the national level, at the state level, whatever. And a lot of this data is straight out of CampDoc. So just understand if it is, and not that CampDoc is right, CampDoc very well may be wrong, but we may have to do some tweaking of some of the stuff as it comes out of CampDoc so we understand what the numbers are saying. Yeah, Alice.
San Diego's not on there.
I know, we're San Diego.
Yeah.
Oh, and yeah, this is, you know why? Because this is last year.
Oh, okay.
I started with last year. So let me put this one in.
There you go.
UCSD. 118.
Perfect.
Thank you. Yep. And so I was just starting to look through some of the, I have been looking through some of the data, but this is, you know, when you're not feeling so hot, this is not what you really want to spend a lot of time looking at. So it's like, okay, just looking at some of the information about the staff that we had, not a tremendous change from last year. Last year we had 73 or 74 branches involved. By the way, we do have a pretty significant jump in the number of branches who participated this year, from 94 to 110. So that's a pretty substantial jump in my mind, that it's over 10% that we see an increase in people interested in participating, or branches interested in participating. So then we have the 74 branches who are actually sending volunteers. And of those volunteers, nearly half are our alumni. So that is, that's an important thing. And I think while maybe only 10% of the alumni are older than 21, we have a large percentage, 1/3 of them are actually over 18, 18 plus. So I think this gets back to our discussion about why do we hold to a plus 21 age? Is that an insurance requirement? Is it just a maturity requirement? You know, I think all of us are going to try and make sure that we have people there that are going to be mature enough to handle whatever it is that we can give them. I don't think anybody's going to be thinking about assigning somebody as a dorm mom if they don't think that she has the maturity to handle it at age 19 or age 20 instead of age 21. So, you know, I think that that's a discussion that we should talk about. I don't think there's any heat on it right now for closing out and making a decision about it, but I think that we could leverage, and in fact, we probably are leveraging our population of alumni who are older than 18, know what it's all about, know what Tech Trek is all about, and we should be thinking about doing that and figuring out how do we bring them back to the game as dorm monitors or dorm moms and help us out there. So that's really kind of a high-level overview. I'm not going to, a little bit later on, I'm going to talk about goals. I'm not going to go into what goals did we accomplish. If you would like to see that, I think I need to do something for Sandy anyway, from last year based on what we said we were going to do. But a lot of the goals are going to carry over again this year, because they're continuing type of goals year after year after year. So I'm not really going to go into here's how we did on this. What I did do is go through and consolidated kind of the checklist. And I took some of the items on the checklist that Sandy and I had discussed in the past as being pretty important stuff, like background checks, making sure people get background checks, making sure that we're covered from a legal standpoint and an insurance standpoint. And I also looked a little bit at our medical records, what we had in Camp Doc, and I recognize, I mean, even in many cases, I don't have the records in the system for some of the campers that I was working with. And so like the booster declination forms, etc. Some of them are missing. Yes, there are definitely going to be some that are missing. And in fact, you may have them. And you may have gotten back after camp and discovered that once camp closes, you can no longer make any edits. And so it's like, you have to do it during camp. So this is strictly for notes only, and I know we can do better next year in terms of trying to get on top of some of this stuff ahead of time so that we don't, you know, we don't end up at the last minute trying to figure out, oh, okay, who needs to get paperwork in and who needs to get things done. We hopefully won't have this big issue with COVID like we did last year or this past year. let's keep our fingers crossed about that, that we don't have to do that. But in any case, we always need to do a medical review. We always need to review all the medical records for whatever. And there's the ability in Camp Doc to record that you did in fact do that you looked at it, you did your thing, and then we have an acknowledgement that yes, I did what I needed to get done.
Mary, can I make a comment?
The other piece of this is,
Mary, can I make a comment?
yes, sure, Pat.
Okay, on the, I'll just say on the one source, that somewhat surprises me because I didn't get probably good feedback on that. I know that some of my staff members were having trouble finding the one source link, which I sent to them several times, but it's not very apparent the way the question was worded. If they had already done live scan, it just did not jump out at them how to link to that one source. So you need to do something about
Okay, we'll
how that's
change
on
that
there.
Camp Doc, how that's presented.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then I'm not sure what you mean by each camper has COVID doses documented with the booster declination
yeah,
or medical exemption.
right. So that just says that they have they have completed their paperwork and they've got the required, if they need a booster declination, they have uploaded the booster declination, or we have uploaded it for them, or somebody has uploaded the booster declination and said, yes, this has been done. And again, this is not it's not like a life or death situation. We don't have to give this paperwork to anybody. However, it's just saying that we missed some of our booster declinations. We somehow missed being able to make sure that they had them done before camp. We had a couple of, I think we had one camper up in that actually was missing an MMR vaccination and was still in, maybe one in Sonoma too, that there are Sonoma Franklin, that there was one camper who didn't have an MMR. And so, and I guess, in theory, that would have been fine had there been a note in the reviews and notes where somebody had said, hey, I know this camper doesn't have an MMR, but it's too late, or whatever, too late for them, and I'm gonna allow them to come. Something that just gives some kind of a notification about why there's no paperwork in there. Now, that's the one thing, by the way, in Camp Doc you can do after camp is notes and reviews. You can, in fact, complete them after camp. Yeah, Martha.
Our youth counselors, it says, that they only 80%, they were all over 16 years old. I mean, we had an older group.
Oh, it's all over 16 years old or out of camp 3 years out of their camp.
Yeah, but they don't have to be, but they were over 16 years old and they were obviously out of camp 3 years. So,
right. Well, not all of them were out of camp 3 years. Some of them were out of camp. They had only gone to camp in the virtual camp in 2021.
Not for us.
Well, and we can look at the data. I'm just saying, it strictly came from the data, Martha.
Right, right.
Whatever is in the system.
That's what. Yeah, there's a little confusion, and I think one of our problems was we reviewed everything, but I don't think we were not good at noting things. I mean, we would go through, but then we forgot that step in terms of letting, So I think it's a lesson learned.
Yeah.
So we weren't really good at that. So that's really an issue.
Yeah, I'm not real sure what you mean by that for us either, because we did medical reviews on everyone, and I don't know if we just didn't check the right box or what it was, but I would say
what it is, Pat, because
Camp Docs was not very specific on what you're supposed to be doing there.
Yeah, well, that's probably more our fault than Camp Doc, because we should, we need to be clear on telling you that you need to check the box that says review has been completed. Yes, the review has been completed, and to make a note. And I thought I did send something out way back in the beginning and kind of give some instructions. Yeah, Alice.
And you already know this, but The biggest problem I had was with the COVID and the boosters and the wording of that, because it was very, very confusing. And then CDC came out and said, all you have to have is one dose. So this whole COVID thing, regardless of what state says, needs to be revamped
Yeah,
and made clearer, because it was not clear. In my
yeah,
opinion.
I agree with Alice on that too, because some of them, like when they just got a shot, they weren't even eligible for a booster. So how
Yeah.
could they decline a booster when they're not even eligible for it?
Yeah. Well, one statement was like, all right, you need the 2 doses. And then the next is like, send in your booster declination. I was like, but you didn't say I needed a booster.
well, but we did, in several cases, we did tell them that if you're missing shots 3 and 4, you need to submit a booster declination, regardless of the reason.
Yeah.
So we did share that several times with people and tried to be as explicit as possible. But Alice, and Pat, you do too. No matter how many times you tell them, somebody is going to read it, hear it, whatever, a different way than whatever you just told them.
True.
And that gets, I know it gets a little bit frustrating. I think for the first year, this is a great, it's just a great place to be in, because there is room for improvement, and there are things that we can do to change some of the ways that we look at the information that's available. So so that's how we did in 2023. And at this point, I'm going to share this with Sandy, but that's it. And we'll have some discussions about it, and she'll probably want to see something else, some other information. What I tried to do was pick the things that I thought were key in terms of safety, risk, things that I thought were important enough that we needed to really be paying close attention to. And those are things like background checks. Those are, although I have to say, many of the background checks that may have been missing were people who have been doing this for years. And so it's just that they had not gone in and gone ahead and clicked the link to do it. And so it's just something that we need to be able to track. And I'm going to continue to talk to the insurance people. Maybe we can get them to relax it to, if you haven't had a background check done in some period of time, you don't need to do one in 2 years, 3 years or something. So I think I'll have to, that would come from the insurance. Yeah, Jonay.
I don't understand my live scan one. There was only one girl that didn't have her fingerprints submitted that I was aware of. It says 0%.
Where are you? Oh, I'd have to go back and look at what I've got for you, but like, I don't, and that again, the live scan, like I said, I'm waiting for Judy to tell me if she sent you all something and she didn't copy me.
Yeah.
So if she did that and she sent you, here's all these people that cleared live scan, I sent her the list, and there weren't a whole lot of people. But I think you only had a few people eligible. And so what happens is if any of them miss, then your number just goes to whack.
Yeah.
If you've only got like 3 or 4 people that you have to run through. Yeah, yeah, so I can share with you what I have, and as soon as I hear back from Judy, we'll update this.
Okay.
And I'll put better numbers in, but that's what we knew at this point in time. And like I said before, everybody, all of the camp directors, you should be able to go in and check your OneSource at any point in time. You can go in and look at who has completed, and we're going to have a separate session on that before we get ready for camp next year, where we'll just go in and show you how to actually, because it's not intuitively obvious. They changed their tool, and so it's not super easy to figure out, how do I look up a person and see if they have completed it or had started it, or if they're even in the system. if you don't see it. But for the most part, I was forwarding whatever I got as the email of record on the OneSource system. I was forwarding that to everybody as it came in. So you should have gotten everything that was in the system to be able to balance against who needs to submit and who doesn't. But again, I think going back to maybe, it may make sense to look at putting a 3 years kind of period on it where you don't need to redo it every year. As long as you continue to work at the camp or go back to the camp, right? So that's if there's a break, then we have to look at, yeah, you're going to have to come back in with another background check because there was a break. Okay.